What's going on, everybody? I know it has been quite some time. It has been 2 months since my last video, which is kind of wild because it doesn't feel like it's been 2 months. It feels like it's been a couple weeks, but I'm back. I've been quite busy, haven't really had the time to really, I guess, talk about music. But here we are again, so I'm excited to share some things with you all. You can see my stack of stuff right there, so you know what's coming up next. But I got some 7 inches, got some LPs to talk about here. Again, this is all stuff that I've picked up throughout this entire year that I've yet to show off or talk about. So sit down, have some fun, and if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the video. So first, we're starting out with one that I never thought that I would own, because when this came out, I did not like it. I was not a fan of this at all, but I picked it up. And that is Ghost. Let me take it out of the sleeve here so that way you can see it better. This is Ghost with their single that they dropped last year. And see, with this, man, my thing with Ghost is that shout out to Mauricio. He actually got me into Ghost back in like 2012, 2013. They were actually opening for Deftones and Avenged Sevenfold, which fuck Avenged Sevenfold, I hate them. But you know, I've always enjoyed Deftones, and I was really excited to see him. And Ghost was opening for them, which is a weird opener. Mauricio's like, "Nah, check it out, you'll dig it," and I did. I thought that it was great stuff. I really enjoyed what they were doing at the time. Then fast forward a couple years, Meliora came out, and I think that's the perfect record for blending the styles of like rock and pop, you know, and it still had hard metal guitars in it, but it had that perfect pop tinge that anybody could get into it. And so it's just all around a fantastic album. Fast forward a couple years, they go more into the pop realm, which I knew was coming, but I guess it kind of hit when I didn't really want it to. And we got this. And this is Kiss the Go-Goat and Mariana Cross. And like I said, I hated this when it came out. I just didn't like it. It was too poppy for me. You know, I was okay with having metal or rock with a pop tinge, but this was more pop with a rock tinge to it, you know. And so at some point, you know, maybe about, I guess now a month ago, that I was listening to this, and I hadn't owned it yet. I was listening to it, streaming it, and I said, you know what, it's good. And I couldn't deny it. It was too catchy. It just, it knew the guys, when they wrote this, they knew exactly what was going to get stuck in your head and what was going to be accessible to our fans that have been with us since the beginning, but also the newer kids and the newer people that may not like any other metal, but they like this, and it does a good job. So this was on sale, a part of like Amazon Black Friday or something. Has the big hole 45, and so I picked it up for like $5. So we got it now. Happy to have it. It's good, I'll admit it. Is it as good as Meliora? Of course not. To me, that's a freaking banger of a record, but this is something you gotta own. So where am I gonna put these? I guess we'll put them down here. Have our little stack. Also, Kentucky Wildcats. Whoa, said I may be having performance issues. Hopefully this didn't cut out. If so, I may have to edit a little together. Hopefully we don't have to restart. But next up, we have some hardcore 7 inches. I got all these from my buddy's distro. Shout out to 641 Distro, my guy Johnny over there. I will link his distro down in the description with links to everything so you can listen to it as well. And I started out with this Criminal Instinct Fever. And this was something that I wanted to check out. It's something that I hadn't heard before purchasing. But I wanted to pick it up because of the fact that I had heard that Criminal Instinct record that Closed Casket put out about 1.5 years ago, and I really, really dug it. And so I never went back to listen to anything else Criminal Instinct did. And so when I saw this in his distro for very cheap, I was like, cool, let's go ahead and grab it and check it out. And it fits along those same lines of what you expect. It's definitely taking kind of like an old school hardcore style from what you would hear in, let's say, like the early 90s, and adding a little bit of a modern tinge to it, and it works. So that way I feel like this is something that our old school hardcore guys on YouTube would really dig and enjoy, but also the newer kids would also appreciate it and would jam out at shows and, you know, stage dive and have fun with it. It's not super moshy or anything like a lot of what you hear nowadays. The vocals are very kind of traditional hardcore-esque. They're not like a lot of hardcore bands now are doing a kind of deeper guttural and adding in growls and stuff. This doesn't do that. It's put out through Triple B, and it's on this like green translucent wax. So it's good stuff. I enjoyed it. It's not something that I think I would go back to all the time. I honestly, while I love my 90s hardcore, I typically kind of lean more towards the modern day, real moshy breakdown type of hardcore. Of course, I enjoy my metallic stuff as well, which a lot of that bleeds in together. But this is good stuff. Criminal Instinct Fever. I enjoy this a lot. And I'm a re-sleeve on camera because if I don't re-sleeve these, it's gonna bother my OCD with it just not being sleeved up. So y'all gonna have to deal with it. Next up, we get into the moshy modern day tough guy hardcore with Karma. Oh man, I always forget that glare. Take that out. Download code's falling out. This is Karma with Most Dangerous Game. There you go. Should be able to see it. Look at that image there. So Karma, they're a band. I want to say that they're from Chicago, Illinois, and they fit a lot of that kind of tough guy hardcore, like bands like Detain from Detroit, stuff like Hands of God and Tsunami from California, and they do that style very, very well. I love their album that they put out a couple years ago, maybe it was about like 2 years ago now, and I think with this, they're pretty much still keeping that same Karma sound, and the vocalist, I can't remember his name, but the vocalist of the band is very distinguishable. When you hear his vocals, you're immediately like, that's Karma. Maybe I can does it pop up in here? It's the lyrics. No, it doesn't have it here, but the thing with this band is that this EP that they did, it adds a little bit more of a musical element to it. I feel like instead of it just saying, hey, we're leading up to the breakdown, so like we're doing our stuff, we're chugging away, here comes a breakdown, beat the shit out of each other. This has a little bit more of a little bit better a songwriting involved, a little not that it's technical by any means, but it feels like the guitar players definitely have progressed in these 1.5 to 2 years since they last put out that record, and this is a little more musically well done. This is on clear with red splatter, and it's good stuff. I enjoy it a lot. It of course still has your nasty, breakdowns and beat down parts to it, but that's not all you're going to Karma for now with this. So I'm excited to see where they go after this. I was actually supposed to see them at Promcore Fest in Oklahoma back in like March or May or something like that. It's been this year, the months are just bleeding through, but shout out to Bleeding Through. But yeah, hopefully if everything goes good, these guys end up going back and performing. They were going to do the pre-show the day before, so I'd love to check them out. This put out through Flat Spot, by the way, which they're kind of known. I feel like they're grabbing up a lot of the modern hardcore that's real kind of nasty and heavy. They have Hands of God on there. They have Typecast and stuff like that, so good stuff. Now let's show off. This is probably my newest 7-inch I've gotten in. This is Tear with Sink to Hell. And this is their newest 7-inch. These guys have been very, very active during this pandemic, dropping lathe cuts and stuff through War Records. This was put out through War Records as well. I got number 58 out of 100, which this one was limited to. This is, which I don't know if that picks up on the camera or the mic, but this is like a screen printed version of the album art, and so this one was limited to 100 copies, and I was able to grab it. I really wanted the test press, but it sold out super quick. And this came with a little like promo flyer. Hear the mailman outside. Wonder if I got some packages. And this one's on a cool kind of green, which it's like super green on that side, and this one's like a darker green with some black splatter. And it's good stuff. It's traditional Terror, what you'd expect. The song "The New Beginning" is very much a sing-along kind of track, kind of like Keepers of the Faith is. And then "Sink to Hell," that one has a nice build-up to it, where as it's building up, you could see yourself just standing there in the crowd, like, just like fist pumping. It's great. And then you're ready to just freaking hardcore dance everywhere. It's awesome. It's Terror. There's not much to say. Scott Vogel's the best. I love Terror. I buy everything that they do. I bought every lathe cut they dropped except those two that were for the Keepers of the Faith 10th anniversary. I missed those. So if you have those and you want to sell them for a good price, I'm your guy. So yeah, man. Sink to Hell, Terror. Great stuff. Some more hardcore here. This is, we got two Ringworm 7 inches. We'll start out with this one because this one's pretty weird, man. This is a split 7 inch with Ringworm. You can see it's in the Venom style there. And the other artist is Brain Tentacles, which they have the Celtic Frost style logo there. What this was is this is a 7 inch put out where each band covered a song and then they dropped their own stuff. So Ringworm, shout out, which by the way, the vocalist of Ringworm, one of the greatest names in music ever. When your name is the Human Furnace, your band is automatically hard. Like, how can you not love a band when your vocalist is named Human Furnace? Great. Cleveland, love it. And even the Browns are doing great this year. But anyway, Ringworm. So the Venom cover they do is they do Poison, and then they have 2 tracks of their own, which is Destroy or Create, and then or just Destroy and Create. I don't know why I was separating those. So they do Destroy and Create, and then they do Poison. And Brain Tentacles do a cover of Innocence and Wrath, and then they do their own tracks, which, I don't know, I feel like that was a weird song to cover, but they covered it. And I bought this for Ringworm. I'm going for like a complete Ringworm set. I want to get everything that they've done, splits, singles, demo, full lengths, everything. So, you know, this was a part of my my buddy's distro that I had ordered from, and this released in 2015 through A389. I always want to say A38, but A389 Recordings. And I had no prior knowledge of Brain Tentacles before this. Brain Tentacles is weird as fuck. So if you're familiar with them, let me know if all their stuff sounds like this. But their 2 songs that they have besides that Celtic Frost cover is like, the first one literally sounds like you would hear it in a circus. It's let me get the track name here. It is odd as hell. It's called King Daka. It sounds, I'm telling you, it sounds like it belongs in a circus. And then the next track is called The Spoiler. And that one is more of a, it sounds like a hardcore jam. It has kind of like a real fast speed, even kind of like, not that fast, but it reminds me of what you would hear from like a grindcore type of style, super quick. Then there's a fun little like bass solo 2-step in there. It's totally bonkers. I was super surprised by it. Here's labels. There's a Brain Tentacle one, and then there's the Ringworm one there. And yeah, I originally got this for Ringworm, but I need to listen to more of this Brain Tentacles because it was totally nuts. So yeah, man, I'm just wondering, are they like one of those just like super weird, like obviously not in the same style, but you know how a band like Melvins and shit like that is weird? Is that how Brain Tentacles is? And I got one more Ringworm 7 inch here. This one was super cool, and one of the favorite things I'm gonna show today. This is the 1991 demo. which this is the 2007 Record Store Day press, which I find very funny that this was released for Record Store Day, because you know, you think typically like, yeah, we see metal stuff for Record Store Day, but it's usually popular bands, like, which I love, but you see Anthrax stuff, you see Slipknot, you know, shit like that. Imagine in 2007, you're there at the record store, you probably got your MP3 player, your headphones are plugged in, you're just like jamming away, and then there's a guy that's there that's like, oh, well, hello, and I'm here to pick up the 47th press of Abbey Road, what are you here for? And then you're there just like, yeah, I'm here for the Ringworm demo, bro. Fuck yeah, Human Furnace. The guy's gonna be like, oh, Human Furnace, huh? I don't know about that type of furnace, but I know about the furnace in the home. Like, you know, so I don't know, that's like weird to me, but it's cool. It's still super cheap. This one is the black vinyl version, so it's not anything crazy. Labels are cool. But this came on, I think, one other color. This demo is awesome. It's very different from the sound of Ringworm that I've come to know and love, which is your modern day Ringworm. You know, I discovered them when they opened up for Goat Whore about 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago, and you know, since then, and I believe in the album before, was it Hammer of the Witches? You know, Furnace's vocals are very like, you know, stuff like that kind of style. He's just like screaming, just fucking onslaught in your ears. And this is a lot different. It's like a toned down Furnace, and of course, it's 29 years ago that this came out, but it's very much fitting for what was going on in that time frame, that you would have heard from hardcore in the late 80s and the early 90s. Maybe that also has something to do with just the production as well, and it's just not so much, it's not slick and in your face, but you know, you could hear in this that they're wearing their influences on their sleeves. There's even like there's a song that kind of has like a DRI riff in there, where if you just cut that out and put it in a DRI song, you kind of wouldn't tell the difference. So you can, you know, I'm sure these guys were influenced by your Agnostic Fronts and DRIs and Suicidals and shit like that was going on during this time frame and before. So this is awesome. If there's one thing so far that we've listened to that I would recommend, and you haven't heard this demo, it would be this. It's really good shit. So, yeah, Ringworm 1991 demo. Now we're going to get to... I need to get another sleeve for this. This sleeve did not want to... There we go. So, last hardcore thing I'm going to show you today. Let's take it out of the old Chiquetta. Indecision, Most Precious Blood. Again, this was a distro grab. And my experience with this band is like, I knew of Most Precious Blood before I even knew about Indecision, even though obviously Indecision came first. Most Precious Blood, the song Shark Ethic, which is like their biggest song ever, was, I want to say, on either a movie soundtrack or maybe even a game soundtrack as a kid. So before even knowing about metal and knowing about hardcore, I knew of that song. Then later getting into it, loving it, and then I think his name was, I always want to say Jacob, but it's Justin Brennan. He was on Joss's podcast a few years ago, and then that's when I was like, Indecision, I'm gonna have to go check that out. And so I did, and I obviously really dug it. Here's the inner sheet. Great stuff. And this was put out through Closed Casket, which I was kind of shocked. I thought it was going to be put out through Bitter Melody, since they just did that recent tape reissue. Not of this, but of Unorthodox. But I always like when hardcore jackets have this, because being someone that was born in '96 and not growing up when this time frame was, I'm very nostalgic, or I like looking and wishing, I wish I was I wish I was like alive when that was going on. Because on the flyers here you could see there's I don't know if it's focus, but there's like a flyer where they played with Shutdown, and I fucking love Shutdown. There's one here where they played with Converge. There's like Catharsis. Here's another one for Shutdown up here. You could see the down. So I like that kind of stuff. I like looking at old pictures and good shit like that. And I'll pull out the LP here. This one's on a kind of like gold, translucent gold type color. Closed casket label that you always see. And then there's that side. So yeah, it's great stuff. It's a classic. It's really good. I still like Most Precious Blood better, but can't go wrong with Most Precious Blood, the album. Next up, we have here is some basic stuff, which most people may not care about, but I have 2 Rob Zombie records. You can see one back there, but this is the Sinister Urge. So I grabbed 2 Rob Zombie records, one from Amazon, one from You Discover Music, super cheap. And this is like childhood stuff, well, early stages of music for me. Technically this was childhood because before I really knew about Rob Zombie the musician and this kind of legend behind him and White Zombie, the song Never Gonna Stop, which is on this record, was the theme song for the wrestler Edge. And you know, I always loved it as a kid from someone that was never introduced to this kind of stuff. That song always stuck. It was not super heavy. It was super catchy, and I always appreciated it. And so when the time came when I was like 10, 11, and I was getting into music, and Rob Zombie's that very like introduction kind of piece, especially for someone of my ilk that loves nu metal, you know, Rob Zombie was right there. And he was incorporating, you know, he had some kind of like, some people like to throw him in nu metal. I always considered it more alternative because he would add in kind of other weird elements to his music. But yeah, I appreciate it. The other jams on here was like Demon Speeding, Dead Girl Superstar. What was the other big one on here? Oh, Feel So Numb. That song was huge. So yeah, it's just black vinyl, so no reason to take it out. Cool artwork on the inside. Even if you don't like Rob Zombie, everybody knows this record. It's popular as hell, but I really like it. So this one may be, there we go. Got it sleeved. Nice and easy. Who's hitting up my line? Next up, Hillbilly Deluxe. So I actually used to have this on CD when I was first getting into collecting. It was one of the first CDs that I bought, but I gave it to a friend for Christmas, and now I have the LP back. So this one's good as well. I think, even though I want to say this one's probably the bigger album for Rob Zombie commercial-wise. Feels weird. The logo in there? Oh, it is. It's like embossed. That's weird. But yeah, even though this is the bigger album, I like Sinister Urge more. You know, this one had Super Beast and Dragula and Living Dead Girl, which were the huge ones. Spook Show Baby. It's great stuff. I don't really have to talk about this much. You all know Rob Zombie. I will say, though, that even though Rob Zombie is not this like popular dude with underground metal, he's on my list of guys that I like. If I had to put a top 10 artists that I would want to see live one day, Rob Zombie's on there. Maybe that's just a like younger me kind of thing, wanting to see him, because I never have, and I'd like to just kind of knock that off the bucket list, but I don't know. We got 2 more here. This album's not gonna stay. I have them laid right here, but let's talk about this. So, a Monomarth, Twilight of the Thunder God. So, shout out to my boy Maze of Torment, Devin. You're the absolute man. He sold me this record for a super good price. He had showed this off in a video when he was going through his albums chronologically, and had mentioned he wasn't really that big a fan of it anymore, and if anyone was interested, hit him up. So I went on ahead and slid in his DMs like a slithery snake and grabbed this bad boy. For one, I love a Monomarth. I think they are honestly so freaking great. They just, you know, for me, a part of metal and music in general as well is like, there's a part of it that is a bit of a show factor, right? Like I love going to a concert where it's dudes that look exactly like me and they're playing on the floor and kids are there beating the shit out of each other. I love that. But I also love production value at the same time. I love being able to go and see the giant Viking ship and have all this smoke and dudes coming out with swords and fake battling each other, and Johann telling us to raise your horns, raise them up to the sky, and he's drinking out of his giant ass horn. I love all that shit. It's great. I love seeing people get down in a rowboat pit and rowing. I love it. It's great. It's a theatrical factor. Maybe, it's part of wrestling. Like, I like wrestling, right? And a Monomarth has that, but I think that they have riffs, they have heaviness, and they have tons and tons of catchiness to them as well. And a great melodicism to them. And Twilight of the Thunder God is my third favorite Amon Amarth record. Used to be second, but number 1 is Deceiver of the Gods, and number 2 is Jom's Viking. This comes with a giant poster, which I'm not going to undo, but it is nice. I wouldn't mind actually hanging it up one day if I had space. Comes on a nice thick black vinyl. And then you have your inner sheet with lyrics. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I feel like Amon Amarth gets a lot of hate, is I feel like we as metal heads and metal friends need to support Amon Amarth. And the reason why is because they are very good for our community. And the reason I say that is, for many, many years now, people that are at the ages of, whether they're kids, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, when they're getting into metal, a lot of those entry bands are the bands that have been entry bands for quite some time, right? We always think of Korn, we think of Slipknot, we think of Linkin Park and Five Finger Death Punch and Lamb of God. But a band that's heavier than those bands and is a melodic death metal band, to be honest, is Amon Amarth. And the reason why they are also an entry point for a lot of people is because unlike some of those other bands like your Five Fingers and Avenged Sevenfolds and Linkin Parks and all that other kind of stuff, is you weren't going to see them tour with other extreme bands or other, death metal bands or thrash bands or, shit like that. But Amon Amarth does, right? You will see them tour with At the Gates. You'll see them tour with Slayer or Cannibal Corpse or Ex Mortis and Entombed AD and all that other kind of shit, right? There's going to be someone there that Amon Amarth is super accessible to them, and they can understand the lyrics without having to read an inner sheet and stuff like that. And that person that goes to that Amon Amarth show may have never checked out At the Gates, and they go check out At the Gates because maybe they liked them at the show, and next thing you know, they're on a Swedish melodic death metal rabbit hole. Or maybe they went and saw Amon Amarth when they toured with Ex Mortis, and they liked Ex Mortis, and they look and see who Ex Mortis toured with, and they start listening to Warbringer and Havoc and these other thrash bands, and they go down a thrash rabbit hole. They check out Death Angel or whatever. And so I have that appreciation for it because I feel like Amon Amarth is one of the not as commercial, heavier bands that is still an entry point for a lot of people. For a lot of people that don't listen to any death metal, this is the closest thing that they listen to. And there's a chance that even 10% of those people will check out this and then go down a death metal rabbit hole. So I feel like we need to support Amon Amarth for that reason because, I'm young, I'm 24, but, I'm an old soul at heart, if you will. And we need the kids that are 12, 13, and 14 to discover Amon Amarth so that way in the future they can listen to a Morgoth, or they can listen to a fucking Tomb Mold, or they can listen to an Undeath, or they can go check out a Dissection, whatever it is. So yeah, important band right now. Think about it like that. Last but not least, if those want to stay, we have Abbott with his self-titled album from 2016. And I love this record as well. I like it better than Outstrider. I'll go ahead and say that. I think Outstrider is a really solid record too, but to me, this gets me coming back. Maybe does it help that I saw Abbott on this tour? Yeah. Does it help that I saw Abbott recently? That when I picking this up this year, it kind of just rekindled things? Yeah. But I think the thing that this does better than Outstrider, and it's been a theme throughout some of the other albums I've showed you, is the catchiness. You know, I love super fucking nasty shit. I love stuff that's challenging. I love stuff that's indistinguishable. But at the end of the day, I love catchiness. I like things that I hum in my head later on. I love songs that, even if I'm not in a black metal mood, I want to come back to that song just because of how catchy it is and how it's stuck in my head. Or, you know, if someone says Abbott, I immediately, besides Immortal and stuff, if I'm thinking solo Abbott, I don't think about Strider. I think of, you know, this. I think of Count the Dead. I think of To War, you know. I think of shit like that. So that's what gets me coming back to this album, and that what makes me appreciate it. When it came out, I feel like a lot of people liked it. Ooh. And then revisiting it, they said that it was boring or it didn't hold their attention, and I'm just the opposite. It holds my attention just fine. Silver vinyl. I picked this up from Bindrum, by the way, through their when they were doing their like Labor Day sale. I grabbed this, an Inquisition record, which you'll see in a future video. But it's great. I love it, man. I think I even like it better than the new Immortal, Northern Chaos Gods. I like it better than that. I will say that it is very top heavy. If you're looking at side A and side B, I think the first 5 tracks are like pristinely fantastic. The last 3 are great too, but I could see myself listening to the first 5 tracks and then stopping. So, anyway, Abbott, I've taken up 31 minutes of your time. I hope that you have enjoyed. If you last this long, again, please subscribe. I have my links to my Instagram down below. You can follow me there. And I'll have links to all this music. So if there's something you're interested in, or something that maybe you haven't listened to in a while and you want to go back to, check right down there. So that's it for me. Peace out.